way, I don't think points will mean anything by the time this fight's over. But Frank
The idea of fear has always followed Mike Tyson like a shadow, not because he felt it, but because the world projected it onto him. Fear was what Tyson inspired in others, what made grown men hesitate in the ring, and abandon game plans the moment the bell rang. Yet somewhere between the chaos of late-night negotiations, wild press quotes, and a matchup that never materialized, a strange narrative took hold. People began whispering that Mike Tyson might have been afraid of Bob Sapp. Not intimidated by skill, not outmatched by technique, but overwhelmed by sheer size, brute force, and the unknown. It became one of boxing's strangest myths, a question mark hanging over two careers that thrived on destruction. This story is not about a fight that happened. It is about a collision that should have happened, one that existed vividly in the imagination of fans across the world. At its heart was a clash of eras, styles, and philosophies. Mike Tyson, the embodiment of precision violence, forged in the streets of Brooklyn and refined under Cus D'Amato's watchful eye, versus Bob Sapp, a walking spectacle of mass and mayhem, a former NFL lineman turned combat sports attraction who seemed to bend the rules of physics simply by stepping into the ring. By the time the rumors of a confrontation began circulating, Tyson was no longer the undefeated terror of the late 1980s, but he was far from finished. He had secured 4 victories in his last 7 bouts and, after the crushing loss to Lennox Lewis, had rebounded with a decisive knockout of Clifford Etienne. The fire was still there. The explosiveness remained. Tyson's reputation, however, had shifted. He was now seen as vulnerable, unpredictable, dangerous in ways that went beyond boxing. Every fight felt like it could either restore his legend or deepen the chaos surrounding his name. On the other side of the world, Bob Sapp was becoming something entirely different. In Japan, combat sports rewarded spectacle as much as results, and Sapp delivered both in overwhelming doses. Weighing well over 350 pounds, with muscles that looked sculpted from stone, Sapp did not resemble a traditional fighter. He looked like a force of nature that had wandered into the ring by accident. His record, filled with losses, somehow only added to the mystique. He was not famous because he was unbeatable. He was famous because every second he fought felt dangerous, unhinged, and unpredictable. Sapp earned that reputation the hard way. When he stepped into the ring against Ernesto Hust, one of the most accomplished kickboxers in history, no one expected subtlety. Hust entered the bout riding a 13-fight win streak, having defeated monsters like Mirko Cro Cop, Mark Hunt, and Stefan Lecco. On paper, it was supposed to be another high-profile paycheck for a legend who had already proven everything there was to prove. What followed rewrote the script. From the opening moments, Sapp fought like a man possessed. He charged forward with reckless intent, hammering Hust with punches that ignored form and punished balance. Hust attempted to slow him down with leg kicks, a weapon that had dismantled countless heavyweights before. But Sapp responded by cornering him and unloading with raw, concussive power. Each punch seemed to carry the weight of a collapsing wall. The bell, more than skill, saved Hust from catastrophe. By the second round, the atmosphere had shifted from competition to survival. Hust's corner prepared to throw in the towel, recognizing that technique meant little against such relentless pressure. Sapp sensed the mental break before the physical one arrived. He mauled Hust again in the corner, forcing the referee to intervene and stunning the combat sports world. The aftermath only intensified the chaos, as Sapp's post-fight antics ignited controversy and guaranteed a rematch. When they met again, Hust arrived with a refined game plan, targeting the body and legs, refusing to engage in reckless exchanges. For a moment, it seemed as though experience would prevail. Hust even managed to knock Sapp down with a brutal body shot, proving that giants could bleed. But Sapp's chin, seemingly carved from steel, refused to betray him. He absorbed punishment that would have flattened others and responded with strikes that felt less like punches and more like collisions. Technique held firm until it didn't, and once again, brute force tore through preparation like a knife through paper. These fights defined Bob Sapp in the public consciousness. He was not a technical marvel, but he was something perhaps more unsettling. He broke assumptions. Olympic judokas with world-class ground games, elite strikers, even sumo champions learned that size combined with fearless aggression could rewrite the rules. Against Olympic medalist judoka Yoshihisa Yamamoto, Sapp shrugged off submission attempts as if they were inconveniences, then detonated punches that ended the contest in seconds. Against towering sumo Yokozuna Akebano, Sapp weathered early pressure before unleashing a torpedo-like charge that sent the giant crashing to the canvas. This was the version of Bob Sapp fans imagined standing across from Mike Tyson. A man so large, so powerful, that conventional logic seemed inadequate. A fighter who didn't need to win rounds, only moments. A spectacle that could turn chaos into strategy simply by being willing to absorb pain in exchange for delivering devastation. But Mike Tyson had built his legacy on dismantling myths. Long before Sapp became a global attraction, Tyson had already proven that size was not a shield. Nearly every opponent Tyson faced was taller, heavier, or physically imposing. Eddie Richardson stood 6'6" and towered over him, yet it took Tyson only moments to close the distance, slip punches with head movement that defied belief, and end the fight with a combination that sent the giant flying. Height, for Tyson, was merely another measurement to exploit. At his peak, Tyson was a master of controlled violence. His physique was not bloated with unnecessary muscle, nor softened by excess weight. Every ounce served a purpose. He moved like a coiled spring, slipping left, slipping right, lowering his center of gravity, then exploding upward with hooks and uppercuts that arrived before opponents could react. His power was not just in his fists, but in the way his entire body moved as one weapon. The night Tyson faced Michael Spinks remains one of the clearest examples of this philosophy. Spinks was undefeated, confident, and experienced. The atmosphere inside Convention Hall felt electric, heavy with expectation. When the bell rang, Tyson did not hesitate. He marched forward with ferocity, breaking Spinks mentally before breaking him physically. Every punch landed with intent, each step closing the space until resistance became irrelevant. In less than 2 minutes, Tyson stood as the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world, having unified all 3 major belts with ruthless efficiency. Attempts to overpower Tyson with muscle had failed before, most notably with Frank Bruno. Bruno possessed the physique of a bodybuilder and tried desperately to smother Tyson's offense, clinching and throwing borderline illegal shots out of fear rather than confidence. But muscle consumes oxygen, and fear drains endurance. As Bruno's arms grew heavy, Tyson unleashed a relentless barrage that left the referee no choice but to stop the contest. Strength alone had proven insufficient against precision married to aggression. This is where the myth of Tyson fearing Bob Sapp begins to unravel. Fear was not something Tyson lacked. It was something he understood. Cus D'Amato taught him that fear could either paralyze or sharpen. Tyson chose the latter. The idea that a man who willingly stepped into the ring with giants, champions, and legends would hesitate because of size ignores the foundation of his entire career. Still, the intrigue remains because Bob Sapp was not merely big. He was unpredictable. He blurred the line between boxing, kickboxing, and mixed martial arts, bringing with him an aura of chaos that made planning difficult. Promoters envisioned a spectacle that could draw massive attention, particularly in Japan, where Sapp was a mainstream star. Negotiations began, trash talk flowed, contracts hovered just out of reach. Tyson's words were sharp, theatrical, and threatening, echoing the bravado that had always surrounded him. Yet the fight never happened. Complications in negotiations, concerns over rules, and the ever-present volatility of both fighters derailed the matchup. Fans were left with nothing but footage, hypotheticals, and endless debate. Could Tyson's technique overcome Sapp's size? Would Sapp's brute force overwhelm Tyson before skill could assert itself? Would the bout end in seconds or descend into chaos? To answer those questions, one must strip away the spectacle and focus on fundamentals. Boxing, under Queensberry rules, rewards timing, balance, and accuracy. Tyson excelled in all 3. Sapp, for all his power, relied heavily on intimidation and physical dominance. Against elite boxers who could move, slip, and counter, that approach becomes increasingly risky. Tyson's ability to close distance, work inside, and target the body would have tested Sapp's conditioning and composure in ways he had rarely experienced. At the same time, dismissing Sapp entirely would be a mistake. One clean shot from a man that size could change everything. Tyson's defense, while exceptional, was not impenetrable, especially later in his career. The fight could have ended in any round, in any direction, with chaos always looming just beneath the surface. Perhaps that is why the myth endures. Not because Tyson was afraid, but because the uncertainty itself is unsettling. Fans crave definitive answers, knockouts that settle debates forever. In the absence of that closure, imagination fills the void. The idea of Mike Tyson, the most feared boxer of his generation, standing across from a man who seemed immune to logic, is simply too compelling to ignore. In the end, what remains is the legend of a fight that never was. A collision of eras, styles, and personas frozen in time. Tyson's legacy stands on technique, discipline, and controlled fury. Sapp's on spectacle, size, and unfiltered aggression. Whether they would have shared a ring or not, the conversation reveals something deeper about combat sports. Fear is rarely about the opponent. It is about the unknown, and sometimes the most powerful stories are born not from what happened, but from what almost did. If you've made it this far, let me know what you think. Do you believe Mike Tyson would have dismantled Bob Sapp with technique and speed? Or do you think Sapp's size and power could have rewritten history? Would this fight have ended in seconds, or would it have descended into total chaos? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into one of combat sports' greatest what-ifs, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next story.